Hey, what's up guys, R&D here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 13 today for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Italian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. It's episode 13. 13 is a bit of an unlucky number, you know, especially in Formula 1, there was a thing of never having number 13 on your car, but I'm hoping 13 can be a lucky one for us. We kind of need it to, because the last two episodes, we've had our fair share of bad luck, of course. We have the crash at Zandvoort with Pierre Gasly, and then the Italian Grand Prix again. I think unlucky, you know, blindsided by a bit of damage to the floor or whatever it was, really. I still don't fully understand what made our car feel so horrendous, but clearly there was something wrong with our car, and we had to end our race early, again, out of choice this time, because we were just going backwards. We were going to be fighting Latifi, or basically thin air, at the back of the grid, so we need to bounce back two races where we've not even made it past halfway through the race. So I'm hoping we can make it through for one to the end of this race and then actually have a decent result. Russia, don't know how it's going to go on this game, you know. Russia's been a bit of a mid-tier track for me on the F1 game in the last couple of games, you know. Not brilliant, but not horrendous either. So we'll just see how it goes, basically. But I'm just looking to make it to the end, basically. I'm going to be honest with you guys, just for the sake of, I felt kind of bad in a way the last two episodes. We've had to end the races early. But obviously it was good to see that you guys kind of also kind of agree with me, you know, to be fair. Sometimes that's what Formula 1 is. It's a bit of a cruel sport, and on this year's game, I think you'll agree, we're seeing that, you know, with the random failures and all this other kind of damage and stuff like that, that it is a bit of a grind, you know. This season one's been challenging. We've had some great races, but we've equally had some really challenging ones, and that's what it's all about, basically. So we go into this one, renewing everything in our minds and hopefully resetting. Third time lucky on the bounce. Hopefully, surely, we can't have another bad one, hopefully. But we'll see, we'll see. But before we get to the race weekend, we're going to look into investing into our HQ facilities. We've got a bit of cash to play around with, and we're going to go ahead and finally bite the bullet and invest in the marketing department there. The bottom one, the activity timeline, the booster, so that we see more positive results from the activity timeline. And if we did have enough funds, I was maybe tempted to invest in the fitness center, because a few of you pointed out that that is the thing that boosts focus, but it's not a big boost. You know, that's going to be a little boost. When I talked about in the last episode about, you know, there being a lack of things to do with the focus, you know, focus is something that changes up and down every race, whereas things like the racecraft and awareness, once you buy the fitness center, that's a permanent boost to focus. Now, there might be a little tiny permanent boost to focus from the fitness center, but focus can very much go down just as long as the driver has a bad race. So there's definitely been a lack of, you know, department events, I feel, to help us boost our teammates' focus race to race. Of course, there might be a little bit of a booster we see from the fitness center upgrade, but unlike all the other stats, focus is something that can go down very much so, as well as up. So it's still kind of lacking that, and a bit of kind of understanding of how we can really take it to the max. I'm talking about like focus level, you know, 80. I don't even know if you can get a driver focus to 80, but if you could, that'd be something great to see. Yeah, so we invested in marketing. Maybe next episode or the next few, we might look to do that personal upgrade, and then, you know, we got to that point in the season where we're about nearly 2/3 of the way through. Then it's about asking the questions of, do we save a lot of money for the end of the season going into season 2, or do we continue the investment this season? That may be something I get you guys to vote on with a straw poll in a future episode, maybe in like 2-3 episodes time, maybe. Let me know if you guys reckon that'll be a nice vote to do, to kind of get your thoughts on where we should be investing or when we should be investing. To the video. So looking elsewhere to the other side of the whole management system, obviously the R&D then, and looking at what we've got coming in. So we did have an upgrade that's finished on the car, the rear downforce. So we have the front one pending, so that's still going to take till the Singapore Grand Prix. So looking around at what else we could do, we've still got a fair bit of downforce to apparently invest in on the R&D side. Like, you know, on the chassis, we pretty much maxed out most things apart from the redistribution and the tyre wear, whereas aero, we've still got a bit of, you know, a fair bit of downforce to find, maybe, and I think we should just continue ploughing into that part of the car, basically, because the higher the downforce we can get, the lower we can start actually running some of the wings on the front and the rear, because right now, the default setup puts it at 8.8 or 7.7, which is really high, but they put it that high because because you need that much downforce with the My Team car especially, but it just means the more downforce we actually get onto the car R&D wise means on the setup I can lower the wings and therefore still have good pace in the corners, but also have that straight line speed, have that acceleration advantage. Finally now, after a bit of a while and my complaining last episode, we finally got a little department event here that's coming up, and this one's quite a juicy one, really tricky decision. It's to do with the F1 Esports series, sending some of our guys there to get some kind of, exposure for the team, and if we do that, we get plus 1,000 on a team acclaim, but we have to minus 500 resource points because we're taking time out of their time at the factory to go to the F1 Esports series to get that acclaim, basically. But 1,000 acclaim, I think that's quite a lot, because I think you get 1,200 acclaim for winning your rivalry, and that's over, 6 races. So to get 1k of acclaim straight away, I think that's quite a big deal. And 500 R&D, that is also a fair amount. That's maybe one minor upgrade, or one major upgrade with a discount, but I think it's worth it. And at this stage, we need acclaim, because the higher the acclaim we get, obviously, more sponsors we unlock, and we can get more money, and therefore we can actually unlock more upgrades to spend R&D on. So, although it may seem like we're, losing 500 R&D right now, that's quite a big chunk. In the long term, I think it's going to be worth it to have that extra acclaim to help us boost towards level 15, which is the next kind of stage of the sponsor we get, because we've got 2 sponsors at the moment, obviously the title one, then 2 secondary sponsors. At level 15, we'll get a 3rd secondary sponsor. So hopefully that's going to go a bit of a decent way to get that sooner rather than later in this season. But we go on through the activity timeline then. Not much to really go through in the run-up to the Grand Prix, essentially. You're just getting in that upgrade for the front downforce, actually. So I thought that was going to come in for next episode. It comes in for this race, then. That's pretty good, actually. So we're already balanced out, then, on the aero in that kind of regard. But now we're in balance, because I just went ahead and bought a rear downforce upgrade. So, again, we're going to have an imbalance by the time we get to that final upgrade that's going to come in. But good to see that one coming in, so that's useful. So that's going to be a good booster for us into this race weekend. Going through the practice programs as per usual, getting as much as we can do. This time, though, thankfully, I actually had a pretty smooth sailing in the practice programs compared to the last 2 episodes, so I really hope that's a sign of things to translate into the actual race weekend, because the last 2 episodes, we've had issues with the practice programs, like me getting some failures of, the 50% chance ones, and then we had 2 horrendous races. So I'm hoping this time, now that we've had a good practice session, pretty smooth sailing, that will translate to a smooth race. If that happens, well, there you go. Maybe it's a sign of things to come in future episodes. If the practice programs go all fine, then the race will go all fine. I don't know, that's probably just wishful thinking. But we go into then the business part of the first part of the race weekend. Saturday, it is a bit overcast, but there shouldn't be any rain. But I say take that with a pinch of salt, because we know the F1 game can be a little bit hit and miss there. But hopefully there's not, because I'd rather not, because Russia is a pretty horrendous track anyway in the dry, let alone in the wet. But I think we can go well around Rush. You just need to try and make sure we can navigate the curbs, which are even more horrendous on this year's game than they have been in the past. There's so many sausage curbs that will just launch your car, so you need to be really careful about picking the right line. I mean, right there through the final corner, hitting the bump there, and over the lap, I was surprised. I actually caused some damage. So there you go, underbody damage. So we talked about having floor damage last episode. I've gone for 1 flying lap and got underbody damage that we are able to repair in quali at least, but in the race, you wouldn't be able to repair that. So that's actually massively made me nervous, because that means this entire race, I'm going to have to be on my best behavior. I'm going to have to really watch out to not hit any of these sausage curbs, because I think that's what did it. I think maybe on the final corner, maybe even, I think you saw it, was maybe just going over it a bit too aggressively, and, the curb has hit the floor inside face. But then at the same time, you saw there, I just hit the bump there, and on this lap, I don't believe I had any damage, because the car was feeling pretty hooked up. And I think that's why maybe the first lap, I was going to say, the first lap didn't feel that great by the end of the sector, and that's maybe because I was losing some downforce with the floor damage. So on the second run, I've gained nearly 7/10 into the last few corners, so definitely no damage on the car now across the line, and it's a very decent lap. P13 there, and that's going to be enough to get us through into this second part of qualifying. Ilot does not make it through, but it got quite close. P17, that's progress. That's showing progress from him, maybe, with some focus improvement, and also maybe the car itself, baseline is getting better. So even a driver that's, maybe been as mediocre as him so far this season can even get into Q2. So that's good signs for the car, because, obviously, as you guys remember from last year, if you were with me on the channel for F1 2020, it was a good sign when our F2 teammate could get through into Q2, because, well and truly, that's the kind of base, lower end of where the car is, essentially, and we're the ones dragging the car up. So that's a good sign. But we now go into Q2. We've got one fresh set of soft tyres to use, so we waited till the middle of this session, so we know where everyone is. So we've got Alonso in P12, Tsunoda P13, Ocon 14th, Raikkonen 15th. So Alonso's our in-game rival at the moment for the acclaim level, and then also our on-track rival as well as Yuki Tsunoda. So that's what we're aiming for, hopefully. P12 or 13, that'll be pretty damn decent, to be fair. And across the line, P11 at the moment, but by the end of this session, other people have fresher tyres. They have a second go, and Alonso, well, I'm not surprised. He goes and beats us. Alonso, the wily old fox, he's so good. Even in the midfield car, he's going to give it his all, and he out-qualifies us. So unfortunately, we don't get the out-qualifying bonus for him. But P13, I'll take that, beating Ocon and Tsunoda. I think that's a very good grid slot, and this time, no engine issues, no worn-out parts, no penalties. So we will be starting in P13 or higher, depending on if other people have penalties themselves. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm looking forward to having a solid Russian Grand Prix, and say it with me, guys, that we can get through to the end of the race this time. Let's go to the grid for the Russian Grand Prix.
Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea, and a race that has historically been dominated by the Silver Arrows. Mercedes have won here 6 times since the first race in 2014. Can someone else muscle in on that record here today? It's full throttle for around 56% of the lap here at the Sochi Autodrome, a 3.6 mile run around the site of the 2014 Winter Olympics. 12 right turns and 6 left turns give us a total count of 18, with passing opportunities available into turns 1 and 13. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Why don't we discuss McLaren? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Lando Norris and Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel, the owner driver, Tsunoda, Gasly, they've taken a grid penalty, Callum Ilott and Fernando Alonso, Russell, Mazepin, Antonio Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll, Ocon, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, so things have gotten quite interesting because we are P10 on the grid, not P13, because a few people have grid penalties. So, we had to take the bullet last episode. Alonso did as well, and Alonso has got another penalty. He's had 2 penalties in a row. He was on the back grid, on the back row with me at Italy, and now he's got another one. So we're ahead of Fernando. So that's great news for our rivalry and the acclaim level we might get for beating him over the course of this little rivalry we're having in the game. But for us in general, to start from P10 is massive, because that's kind of almost as if we got into Q3, and we've got a great chance, I think, for points. This means it's all sunny, one stop, soft to medium, so it's all going to be about the on-track stuff, not really too much we can do on the strategy, but I think the car felt really decent in Q2, so it's just about what we can do in the race, basically. Hopefully keep our nose clean and make it to the end and see where we end up. So exciting times here, and I'm feeling really positive. Here we go to 5 red lights to the Russian Grand Prix with the McLaren on the front row. The lights are out and we're on the way, and it's a horrendous start for Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel on the left-hand side of the grid really slow for some reason, even though that's the racing line. And we're up into P8 already. Callum Ilott, he's up into P10. Where's Ilott come from? And it's 3 abreast between Verstappen, Ricciardo and Bottas. Ricciardo and Verstappen make some contact. It's Hamilton out in the lead. Bottas in second. We nearly squeeze Leclerc into the wall at turn 3. He's on the inside there. We're going to try and get back past him because we got ahead and the race starts. We want to keep ahead, but Callum Ilott, he's still there in P10 just vibing. How's he done that? I think he started, he started further up as well. I think he started P13 where I was originally going to start, so both of us have been helped by the grid penalties, but good to see Ilott make a good start. So good signs. He is slowly improving as a teammate, and clearly the car's getting better. And Sainz, he's been held up here behind Perez, and Norris make a big lunge to the inside. No contact made between myself and Carlos, and he just has to kind of give us the room then as we're on the inside, use the RS, and just use the fact he got caught up napping behind Sergio Perez and Norris on a charge. He's overtaking Perez, and now he can go chasing after Max Verstappen. But Perez, I don't know, he looks slow, like the way Norris overtook him. Maybe once again Perez has some sort of issue in the car. He's had quite a few of them this season, hasn't he? And very much the opposite can be said of Lando Norris. He's on a charge, and I think up the road he's going for a move on Verstappen. So our McLaren very much now the number 2 team in Formula 1 because Red Bull looks slow. Verstappen has an issue there. I think some contact was made between him and Norris. He looks so slow. He's held up Perez. Can we go for the move around the outside? It's the dive bomb of the century for the double move. We've just overtaken 2 Red Bull cars in one corner. What's going on with Red Bull? They're having a mare. Verstappen is slow. He's definitely got an issue. I don't know if it's contact with Ricciardo or contact with Norris. There's a lot of contact Verstappen made in this opening 2 laps, and he's so slow to the point where now lap number 4, Perez goes to overtake him. We've got a 1.7 second gap then to these 2 Red Bulls, but Verstappen, he looks vulnerable. He looks like he's got an issue in the car. I initially thought Perez had an issue, but it looks like it was just him, being overtaken by Norris. And clearly McLaren, I think you've got to say McLaren are the second fastest team in Formula 1 at the moment in this career mode series of ours, this alternate universe we're creating already compared to real life Formula 1, with McLaren as the second team, Ricciardo P3 at the moment, Lando P4. But so Perez has no issue. Looks like he's actually quite quick. He just got held up a little bit by Verstappen, his teammate, and with the fight with Norris. But Verstappen now definitely has an issue. I mean, look how slow he is versus his teammate Sergio Perez. And I think Carlos Sainz may be going for a move with DRS now on lap number 4. So he's going to be a bit of a slam dunk overtake ready. So I don't know where it was. It may have been the contact with Ricciardo, I think, because there were 3 wide into turn 2, remember. And I just really remember them clashing, I think, on the side. So maybe Verstappen's got some sort of floor damage or bargeboard end plate damage, maybe. Whatever the case is, he's now in a Ferrari sandwich, and it's not great news for him. Speaking about bad news, though, literally a lap later, we get this radio call.
Don't panic just yet, but we've seen a problem at our end. We're looking into it.
You have got to be kidding me. There's maybe an issue with the car. We've not even got an award engine now. So if we actually have an engine issue, we have to retire, or something breaks on our car, we are going to be so unlucky. Like, this will be 3 races in a row where we're just so down bad, because look at the bottom right, we've got no damage. Like, nothing's really that warm. The internal combustion engine a little bit, but not that much. So I'm praying that we get a message soon. I think we are.
The issue seems to be fixed, but we will keep monitoring it our end.
Okay, thank God for that. So whatever the issue was, the team have assessed it. We're all good now, and we can go without any worries. God, whew. That was a close one, because I thought that was going to be so bad. Nevertheless, though, despite our car being fine, Perez is going to catch up to us. Like I said, I was suspicious of Perez having an issue, but he doesn't have an issue. And so, it's fair play. The Red Bull's always going to pass us. I don't put up much of a fight, because it's so early in the race. There is no point putting up a fight with a Red Bull car on lap 6 of 27. If he truly is quicker, he's going to pull away, and we're not in a race with him right now. We're racing the people behind us. Even the same with Carlos Sainz here. We're going to squeeze the Spaniard towards the wall, but on lap 8 he again flies past us with DRS here, and we can't really do much. Ferrari there in P4 in the championship, so we're not going to fight with them. And it's so early in the race, so as much as it's kind of disconcerting to fall away like this, we've got to be, we've got to be true to ourselves of where the car is. We could maybe fight Gasly, maybe Vettel, I don't know, we'll have to see, but yellow flags. Oh, Sainz is slow. Oh, Sainz! Sainz has an engine failure. He goes up in smokes right ahead of us. We've got a face full of smoke there. And so Carlos Sainz is out. And earlier, I actually got a radio message to say Leclerc has got an issue with his car. So Ferrari are in the mud here maybe today, because Leclerc is slow with a mechanical issue, and Sainz is flat out of this race now with an engine failure. So lap 11 then, we come in from P4 with a few people that had already pit ahead of us. So things are looking very decent then, and you know, lap 12, this is around the mark where we were DNFing at the Zandvoort and having issues from the Italian Grand Prix. And oh, what has happened to our car? Okay, false alarm. I thought for a second, you know what? Oh my days, I thought for a second, the second I started talking about an issue, that this was around the time we had an issue with the car in the last 2 episodes. I thought fully we had just come into the pit lane, and that's the moment our engine decided just to explode randomly. I don't know what that was, a bit of a glitch then, as we came into the pits with maybe locking up or whatever in the pit box. But we're on to a set of mediums now. We're out now in P8 as it stands. We were P6. That's because Giovinazzi and George Russell have actually started on mediums, and they're out ahead of Sergio Perez, you can see on the minimap. And on the ladder on the top left there, Perez, Giovinazzi P6, Russell P5. And so lap 13 onto 14, Russell and Giovinazzi going long on an alternative strategy. They're actually holding up Sergio Perez and backing him into us. So we may actually have a chance to come back at Sergio Perez. So this may be a bit of karma for letting Perez by, doing our own race. But now Russell and Giovinazzi might be bringing him back into the fray. And now, you know, if we could overtake him now, there might be half a, you know, reason to maybe battle him a little bit and try and keep the position if we can overtake him, that is. But we just need to try and find the right moment, really. But Perez, look how slow he is. Perez just can't overtake, can he, in this Red Bull? Just like in real life, he's finding it a bit of an issue here. And we're going to go for the move, because why waste time? Why should we wait around for Sergio Perez to overtake these 2 cars? So we're going to go for it then and overtake Giovinazzi and Russell ourselves and show Perez how it's done. He's got a car that's quick enough for it. I know he may have, I don't know, some issue in the car. I don't know still from the opening laps, but Giovinazzi then a little bit slow, like a mobile chicane through the left-hander there, but we're just going to wait and be patient for the right time. Here we go on the exit, bit of ERS usage. The rear flap opens for Giovinazzi, but also for ourselves. And here we are then, very close to the wall as the Italian squeezes, but Russell is a sitting duck then without DRS. Dive down the inside, Russell gives us a bit of a fight, locks up for good measure, but we're up into P5 then. And now, well, I'm hoping Russell and Giovinazzi could hold up Perez for a few laps. That'd be quite ideal, because then we can get away from Perez. And then, who knows, could we be fighting for P5 somehow at the Russian Grand Prix? I kind of doubt it, and my doubts were very correct, because now here comes Sergio Perez on lap 16. He's going to go to the inside of turn 2. We'll fight him a little bit though, and Perez across the sausage curb, and he hits us on the front right there. Was there maybe some damage for him? I think he clouted our front right quite hard, and Sebastian Vettel out of nowhere has swooped through, and Vettel now is giving us a grand old fight in the Aston Martin car on the outside. The first time we've really fought Sebastian Vettel ever on track. We've seen plenty of Perez a few times, but Vettel, first time we fought him, and he's given us a real good run for the money on the exit. He's so quick off that corner on the inside. It's very close onto the sausage curb, but for us on the inside, we need to be careful of that, because if we hit one of those, you know, we may get floor damage just like we did in qualifying. So I was a little bit wary of that, but Vettel stays behind for now, thankfully, and we maintain the P5. But Perez looks slow. I honestly think Perez hit the sausage curb on the inside of turn 2 and bounced into us, and whilst he did that, may have got some damage, and so now he's looking a bit vulnerable versus Gasly. Vettel though gets past us in a straight line with DRS. Again, Aston Martin, as much as I'd like to say we're fighting them, we're just not on the same pace really with them, and it's the same thing with Lance Stroll as he gets past. Now the difference is though, Stroll's AI is maybe a little bit slower than Sebastian Vettel's AI, so we may have half a chance of maybe fighting him a little bit. And so with the power of DRS and ERS deploying at the same time, we're going to make a kamikaze dive almost into turn 2, lock up on the front right, but Stroll actually gets scared off the road, and we get back up into to P6, so we're going to try our best, but I think in the end it may be a little bit futile because Stroll is in a much better car with that Aston Martin as he powers past once again Deja Vu on the right-hand side. And could it be Deja Vu for him as we're going to try again, maybe into turn 2. This time, though, we're a little bit far back as he had a really good Sector 3, and we're just not, I could tell, we're not near enough now compared to the previous attempt, and so we can't fight him anymore. So Aston Martin flying high today, P6 and P5 there, that'll be mega for them, but now it's all eyes on the cars behind us. Leclerc has now sped up again. He did have an issue earlier in the race, my engineer told me that, but now he's sped up, but we're giving him a good old fight because I reckon Ferrari, we could maybe hold him back because we beat both Ferraris before Hungary if we fight hard enough. And look at that behind us, Gasly, look at the top left, he's overtaken Leclerc. If Gasly can overtake the Ferrari, we can definitely fight Leclerc and try and maintain P7, so we're going to give it our all. But once again, some potential bad news strikes on the team radio.
It looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there, we're attempting to manage it.
2 times in one race, my car and my team is really testing me today. So we're only a couple laps from the end. I beg, please, there can't be an engine failure, please. We're so close to the end, so close to such good points here, maybe.
There seems to be an issue with our ERS.
Okay, there's an issue with the ERS, and I've only just realised it now in the cockpit. Look at the bottom right. We're now stuck on deployment. At this moment in time, I'm spamming the button off of ERS overtake mode to try and stop it deploying. So we're just draining the battery, and this is going to make braking really difficult into the next corner. Easy does it, and behind, oh, Gasly's hit us. Gasly's hit us. He's broken his front wing. We had to brake a little bit earlier because, of course, if you're deploying ERS into a brake zone, you're going so much quicker into that brake zone compared to if you aren't deploying it. So I was spamming the button to try and stop the deployment, but it's broken. It's stuck on, and so Gasly's fallen victim to us having to brake early. But looking at the replay, I don't think we even broke that early, to be honest. Look at Gasly. He actually sped up in the brake zone. Like, he went too late and then sped up into the apex. I don't actually think we're at fault because if we pause it here, both of us should be braking by this point, well and truly. But he's just continuing to accelerate. I actually, you know what? I back myself. I actually don't think that's our fault. If we look at it again, I actually think that a bit away from us braking a little bit early, maybe for the ERS braking. I think Gasly's AI has fully just misjudged that and gone for a dive that wasn't there, and he's just broken the wing on us. But whatever the case is, we've not been dealt the blame by the FIA, so we're just going to go off that, and we're left now to maybe struggle with this issue in the car.
Now, the issue seems to be fixed, but we will keep monitoring it our end.
Oh, okay. Oh, happy days. Hallelujah. Okay, that is potentially maybe the best timing ever for an issue to go away. Okay, so you can clearly see now on the bottom right, my ERS is stopped deploying and being stuck on deploying. So we're now good, apparently, to end the race. And now we just need to defend against Leclerc and then the other AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda. But at the same time, you can clearly see on the bottom right, we're in the negative on fuel. You may have noticed I was lifting and coasting and went a bit too deep into that corner, just about held it versus the Ferrari. But we need to save fuel now. We've got a lap left to go as we go to lap 27, and we need to save some fuel. So we need to do some lifting and coasting into turn 2 at the end of this next main straight, but that's going to allow Leclerc to maybe come and make a move. So we need to hope that we've got enough speed in the car, and we need to place the car correctly, just enough to defend against him. But here we go now. On the last lap, the Ferrari comes at us at a rate of knots. We go to the inside then, lift and coast, easy does it, hit the apex and just get the racing line there. And Leclerc, he gets squeezed out. Tsunoda is now the one in P8 and he's the one attacking us. We go defensive to the inside, again having to lift and coast to make sure we get to the end of this race, and we just do enough. Tsunoda tried around the outside, but we're just placing our car perfectly to defend this position, and so Lewis Hamilton has won this one. I think it's Noah's Ark. It's Hamilton, Bottas, Lando Norris, Ricciardo. Then you've got Vettel, Stroll, and then myself in P7 coming through the last few corners, and we've somehow made it, and it's a fantastic Fantastic P7 result, but what a dramatic race. We had 2 instances where we were maybe told we had a car issue. We had some mental overtakes, some great battling and defensive work. That was actually a really entertaining Russian Grand Prix. How about that?
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So it's another win for Hamilton. So following that DNF he had at Zandvoort, he kind of bounced back in the biggest fashion he could versus his main rival Bottas in the championship. But Lando Norris, P3, another podium. 2 podiums in a row here for Lando in the McLaren, showing the McLaren very much in this alternate F1 universe is already diverging from real life, and Lando and McLaren are showing McLaren are very much the second best team on the grid. Verstappen finished behind us. Perez, you know, obviously had the issue. I think he very much got damage off the sausage curb in our car when he was fighting us a bit too hard then. And so for us then, we are still P7. We don't make that much ground AlphaTauri in the championship because Yuki was right behind us scoring points, but we still get at least some points over AlphaTauri. And we still got a long way to go in the season, so there's still a chance we could close up to AlphaTauri and get P6. I think we've got to try and aim for P6 in the championship. That'll be the big aim, even though initially we were aiming for Alpine, but we very much, I think, got them in our back pocket, I think. Although I shouldn't say that too confidently, because we've obviously just come off the back of 2 really bad, bad races. We've kind of bounced back really well here with a really fun race at Russia. And next time out, we've got a very different Grand Prix, the Singapore one. That's going to be a real tough one. Always is the longest race on the F1 calendar. But it's really great to finally be back, finishing a race and in some good points. And that was, like I said, a really fun race. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did to race and commentate it. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.